The UK's abandoned asylums are some of the most haunted places in the world, filled with tragic histories and restless spirits. Join us as we explore the chilling tales of 15 haunted asylums where the past refuses to stay buried. John's Asylum, Bracebridge, Heath, Lincolnshire. St. John's Asylum has long been a place of dark whispers and tragic history. Among its many restless spirits, the ghost of Emily stands out. Emily was a young patient who died under mysterious circumstances, possibly from neglect. Her ghost is often seen wandering the long, empty corridors, her figure barely visible in the shadows. Witnesses report hearing faint footsteps following them, only to turn and see no one. Others claim to feel a sudden drop in temperature when she's near, followed by the distinct sensation of being watched. Some also describe hearing soft cries of distress coming from seemingly empty rooms. Emily's spirit is believed to be trapped in the asylum, still searching for peace that she never found in life. Her haunting presence continues to linger, making St. John's one of the most chilling abandoned asylums in the UK. 2. West Park Asylum, Epsom, Surrey. At West Park Asylum, the haunting presence of Dr. Roberts is infamous. Dr. Roberts was a psychiatrist who died in a car accident, but his ghost is said to still roam the asylum. Visitors often report seeing his figure moving swiftly down dark corridors, his white coat glistening in the dim light. Many claim to hear his footsteps following them, and a few have felt an icy hand brush their shoulder, only to turn and find no one there. Dr. Roberts's apparition is often described as silent and methodical, still performing his duties in the afterlife. Some have even heard the sound of papers shuffling or a clipboard being dropped, as though he's still working with his patients. His ghostly presence is a reminder of a life cut short, forever tied to the place he once worked. 3. Warley Asylum, Brentwood, Essex. Margaret, a former patient at Warley Asylum, is said to haunt the site where she spent her final years. Margaret's death was mysterious, and since then, her ghost has been spotted in the asylum's abandoned wings. Witnesses describe seeing a pale, shadowy figure walking through the halls, her hair wild and disheveled. Her cries for help echo through the building, and many report hearing her sobbing softly at night. Some visitors have even felt a cold breeze pass by them, as though Margaret's ghost is brushing against them. The atmosphere around Margaret is heavy with sorrow, and some have reported feeling a sense of unease, as though something is following them. Her tragic death and the lack of closure in her life seem to have trapped her soul within these walls, still searching for peace. 4. St. Nicholas's Asylum, Coxlodge, Newcastle. The ghost of George, a former patient who vanished mysteriously at St. Nicholas's Asylum, is said to still roam the halls. His disappearance has never been explained, and his spirit remains tied to the building. Many visitors to the asylum report seeing a tall, shadowy figure moving from room to room, often standing at the end of dark hallways, staring without expression. Some say George's spirit is drawn to the quietest parts of the asylum, lingering in the empty rooms where he once stayed. The sound of his name being called out in whispers is common, and a chilling coldness fills the air whenever his ghost is near. Those brave enough to explore the asylum have reported hearing faint sounds of footsteps following them, only to look back and find nothing. George's disappearance remains an enduring mystery, and his ghost continues to haunt the asylum, seeking answers that may never come. 5. St. Lawrence's Asylum, Bodmin. Catherine was a young woman who was subjected to cruel treatments during her time at St. Lawrence's Asylum. She passed away under disturbing circumstances, and now her spirit is said to haunt the building. Her ghost is often seen wandering the dark hallways, dressed in a torn white gown, her face obscured by a veil of long hair. Witnesses report hearing soft, mournful sobs echoing through the empty rooms, the sound of her cries lingering in the stillness of the night. Many people who enter the asylum claim to feel an overwhelming sense of sadness and despair, as though Catherine's pain still clings to the walls. Some visitors have even seen her ghost standing by windows, staring out into the distance, as though waiting for something. Catherine's tragic life and death seem to have trapped her spirit, which still wanders the asylum, seeking the comfort she never found. 6. Stanley Royd Asylum, Wakefield, West Yorkshire. The spirit of Thomas, a former patient at Stanley Royd Asylum, is said to haunt the abandoned building. Thomas died after years of mistreatment, and his spirit is believed to still wander the halls. His ghost is often seen in the dimly lit corridors, his figure faint, but always present. People report hearing the sound of footsteps behind them as they walk through the asylum. But when they turn around, no one is there. A cold chill fills the air whenever Thomas's ghost is near, and many claim to feel an eerie sensation, as though someone is following them. Some have even reported seeing his apparition standing at the end of dark hallways, silently watching. His tragic fate seems to have left him trapped within the asylum's walls, unable to move on. 7. Vale Asylum, Taunton, Somerset. At Vale Asylum, the haunting of Sarah, a patient who died mysteriously, is one of the most talked about stories. Sarah's spirit is said to still walk the corridors where she once suffered. Visitors often describe seeing her pale figure dressed in a nightgown, her eyes hollow and distant. Her ghost is frequently seen walking along the hallways, often disappearing into the darkness. Some claim to hear her name whispered on the wind, followed by the soft sound of her footsteps. A sudden coldness fills the room when Sarah's spirit is near, and those who have encountered her ghost often feel an overwhelming sadness. Others say Sarah's ghost seems to be searching for something, perhaps a closure or justice she never received. Her tragic death remains unsolved, and her soul seems to be forever trapped in the asylum's sorrowful past. 8. Powick Asylum, Powick, Worcestershire. The ghost of John, a patient who mysteriously vanished from Powick Asylum, is said to haunt the grounds to this day. His disappearance remains unexplained, and many believe his restless spirit never left. Visitors have often reported hearing footsteps following them down long, empty corridors, only to turn and find no one behind them. The air around John's ghost feels cold and oppressive, and some claim to feel a strange weight pressing down on them. Others have seen his shadow flickering at the edges of their vision, or heard faint whispers calling his name. Some believe John's spirit is trapped in the asylum, forever searching for answers about his disappearance. His ghost seems to be unable to move on, lingering in the dark corners of the asylum, as if waiting for a resolution that may never come. 9. Scalebor Park Asylum, Burley in Wharfdale, Yorkshire. Eleanor, a patient who died after years of inhumane treatment at Scalebor Park Asylum, is said to still haunt the building. Her ghost is often seen in the old treatment rooms where she once suffered, her pale form moving slowly through the dark. Some visitors report hearing her soft sobs echoing through the rooms, a sound that lingers long after the crying stops. Others claim to have seen her figure standing at the end of long hallways, staring vacantly into the distance. The atmosphere around Eleanor's ghost is always cold, and those who encounter her feel a heavy sadness that fills the air. Many believe Eleanor's spirit is trapped in the asylum, still searching for the peace and justice she never received in life. Her haunting serves as a reminder of the cruelty that took place within the asylum's walls. 10. Springfield Asylum, Wandsworth, London. At Springfield Asylum, the ghost of Charles, a former patient, is said to still walk the halls. Charles died after enduring years of brutal treatment, and his spirit is believed to be trapped within the asylum. Visitors often report seeing his shadow moving silently along the walls, and many hear the soft sound of chains dragging on the floor, even when no one is around. Some claim to feel an invisible presence following them, a sensation of being watched. Others report hearing Charles's name whispered in the darkness, followed by an eerie silence. The air grows cold whenever his ghost is near, and some visitors even feel an unexplainable weight on their shoulders, as if Charles's spirit is trying to communicate with them. His tragic fate has seemingly kept him tied to the asylum, forever wandering its desolate halls. 11. Bethlem Royal Hospital, London. The haunting of William, a former patient who died in Bethlem Royal Hospital, has become part of the hospital's dark history. William's ghost is said to wander the halls, sometimes appearing at the windows, staring out into the night. His restless spirit has been seen in various parts of the building, always alone, always watching. Many visitors have reported hearing faint whispers calling his name, followed by the feeling of cold hands brushing against them. The air in the hospital grows thick with a sense of foreboding whenever William's ghost is nearby, and some claim to feel a sense of oppression or dread, as if something is holding them in place. His tragic story seems to have left him bound to the hospital, never able to move on from the trauma he experienced. 12. Fulbourn Asylum, Cambridge, Cambridgeshire. The haunting of Alice at Fulbourn Asylum is one of the most chilling. Alice was a patient who died under harsh and unexplained circumstances, and her spirit is believed to still haunt the asylum. Her figure has been seen wandering the hallways, often dressed in a hospital gown, her face obscured by her long, matted hair. Visitors often report feeling an overwhelming sense of dread when near her, as though Alice is trying to communicate her pain. Some say they hear her name whispered in the wind, followed by the sound of soft sobbing. The air grows cold and heavy when Alice's ghost is nearby, and her presence is often marked by a sudden feeling of sadness. Her tragic death seems to have bound her spirit to Fulbourn Asylum, where she remains searching for peace. 13. Shelton Asylum, Shrewsbury, Shropshire. The ghost of Helen, a former patient who died at Shelton Asylum, is said to still haunt the building. Helen's death was surrounded by mystery, and her restless spirit is believed to walk the halls where she once lived. Many who visit Shelton report seeing her shadowy figure in the corner of their eyes, or hearing her faint footsteps following them. The atmosphere around Helen's ghost is thick with sadness, and some have felt a sense of oppression when near her. Visitors often claim to hear her soft cries echoing through the building, a mournful sound that lingers long after it fades. Others have seen her ghost standing silently in the corner of dark rooms, her vacant stare fixed on nothing in particular. Her tragic death has left her soul bound to Shelton, unable to move on. 14. Storthers Hall Asylum, Kirkburton, Yorkshire. At Storthers Hall Asylum, the spirit of Thomas, a former patient who was subjected to cruel treatments, is said to still haunt the building. Thomas's ghost is often seen wandering the long hallways, his eyes wide with fear and confusion. Some visitors report hearing the sound of his footsteps echoing through the empty rooms, and others claim to have seen his figure standing in the distance, silently watching. The air around Thomas feels unnaturally cold, and many say they experience a sudden heaviness in the atmosphere when his spirit is near. His ghost is believed to be trapped in the asylum, still reliving the torment he endured during his life. Thomas's presence is a haunting reminder of the suffering that took place within Storther's Hall. 15. Blackburn Asylum, Blackburn, Lancashire. The haunting of Eleanor at Blackburn Asylum is one of the most well-known in the area. Eleanor was a patient who died under mysterious circumstances, and her spirit is believed to haunt the building to this day. Visitors often report seeing her figure moving silently through the halls, her expression vacant and distant. Some say they feel a chill in the air when Eleanor is near, and many have heard faint whispers calling her name. The most unsettling aspect of Eleanor's haunting is the feeling that she is constantly watching, following visitors as they move through the asylum. Her tragic death left her spirit restless, and her presence continues to haunt Blackburn, her soul trapped in the asylum she once inhabited. While many of these asylums have been repurposed or abandoned, their haunting histories and restless spirits remain. Thank you for joining us on this eerie journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling tales. See you in the next one. Have you ever visited a haunted location? Share your experiences or suggest other spooky places in the comments below.